eventually that you are just mimicking a machine, and they will crash or perform strange things in various ways. But with a bit of effort, we can delay that inevitable point of reckoning for as long as possible, and we can actually do some pretty cool things. Okay. So a program pretending to be a piece of hardware, why in the world would you write it? I've generally found that these are probably not an exclusive list, but there are a whole bunch of applications for these. I'm really going to focus on a few of them because those are the applications I've been interested in. You probably have already, if you've worked with Android, have already played with an emulator because you've used the Android development environment, or the one for the iPhone, if you played with that. That's essential because the alternative is every time you write a piece of software, you have to upload it to the phone and see if it works. You may not have a phone, or you may have a lot of weird Apple policies preventing you from uploading it to the phone. So development is kind of a key point. But that's not the one that interests me right now, so I'm going to ignore it. This one is probably where you all come in. The emulating so that you can play with archaic systems or unavailable systems, which may mean emulators for the ENIAC or an obscure Turing or an abstract Turing machine, but what it really means is gaming. Basically, making an emulator of your Game Boy or your Super Nintendo so that you don't have to actually go out and buy the system or install the system and you can play all the vintage games. Sandboxing is a key one. Basically, writing an emulator pretty much of the machine that you are running the emulator on. It sounds a little recursive, but is good because it prevents software that you're running on the emulator from messing with your machine. Maybe. Computer architecture research, this is probably the one which guys in the room are the least familiar with. But if you want to design a novel microprocessor and you want to actually put it into production, and you really have a neat idea that would make a microprocessor work twice as fast, and you just want to see if that idea will work, well, you could, if you wanted to, create the full layout of your idea, send it over to a fabrication facility, pay them a few $100,000, wait a few months, and then you'll get it back and you'll see if you got it right or wrong. Or you can build a software that mimics the system and try it out on the software first before you send it to development. So pretty much all computer architecture research, apart from that done at major universities that have a fabrication facility on hand, and even at those, are done via emulation. And finally, my personal favorite, there's really no way properly to teach computer design or computer organization without using an emulator. Because how else are you going to actually be able to look at what's going on in memory, what's going on in the registers while programs are running? You can't really do it on your computer. You need a very good magnetic field magnifying glass or something. But if you have an emulator, you might have a nice display that shows you what's contained in the registers. So, archaic systems, computer architecture research, and teaching computer design are the ones I'm going to come back to. All right, maybe in a little more depth. Gaming is probably one that, all right, how many of you have used a gaming emulator? Right. How many of you have used a gaming emulator on this list? Oh yeah. Basically, this is one of the key places where people make realistic emulators of full systems. These are a list of some of my favorites. DOSBox works really, really nicely for playing those old DOS games and even some early window games. And it's probably one of the fastest x86 emulators I know of out there for what it does. They've even got it working fairly well on an Android phone, running, well, faster than the DOS machines. Some other ones, Virtual Boy, PSX. This PlayStation emulator works actually very nicely on an Android phone. Java PC, which I am very familiar with. It's an attempt to create a PC in Java, which by interesting coincidence is an attempt that I've also made. And Super Nintendo emulator, this is in C++. Most of these are actually in C++, because if you want speed, you really can't go for other languages, as we're going to find out.